What up, nerds? This is Clay Cooper from Prep Expert. I've got a perfect score on the SAT and on the ACT. And today I'm going to share with you how you can improve your SAT score by 200 points. The simple answer to how you can improve your SAT score by 200 points is to develop mastery in new areas that are tested on the SAT. Let me explain what I mean by that. So you can get lucky and improve your score on the test, but if you want to consistently score higher, the only way to do that is to master topics that are tested consistently on the SAT that you do not currently have mastered. In other words, you need to master new subjects that are tested on the SAT. How do you do that? Well, the first step to mastering new subjects that are tested on the SAT is to take a realistic practice test and figure out where you are. You can't know what to study and where you can master new topics until you know what you're not good at to begin with. So, the first step in any good study plan is to take a realistic, timed, past SAT practice test. So the College Board, the company that makes the SAT, they have published a number of past SATs, official practice tests on their website. You can go find one of those practice tests, print it off, take it on paper realistically, just like you'll take the real SAT, and that'll give you a feel for where you are. It'll show you what you're good at, what you're not so good at, what you can work on to improve. And knowing what you can work on to improve is really the first step in raising your score. You got to start there, knowing what you're not good at. So you'll take that practice test, you'll get an idea for what you're good at, what you're not good at, and that will help you focus on your weakest areas. Now, focusing on your weakest areas is an unpleasant experience. I teach this all the time to my students, and I often have a hard time getting them to take it seriously or getting them to be willing to do it. The idea is this: if you want to raise your score, working on things you're already good at is not going to help you very much. That's not really the way to do it. The way to raise your score is to work on the things that you're not good at. Most students are not good at things that they find boring or confusing. So if you're not good at something because you find it boring or confusing, you'll naturally be disinclined to work on that thing. You won't want to work on math, for instance, if you have a hard time with math. If you're good at math but bad at reading, you won't really want to work on reading. Or at least that's true for most people. And I understand that for sure. But if you're here to raise your score by 200 points, you're going to have to get over that. We got to focus on our weakest areas if we really want to raise our score. So again, going back to our original goal of developing mastery in new areas of the test, we've taken a realistic practice test. We know what we're good at and what we're not good at. Now we're going to take those areas that we're not good at and we're really going to bear down on them. We're really going to focus on improving and developing new mastery in the subjects and sections that we're not very good at on the test. So how do we develop new mastery? You know, mastery doesn't grow on trees, right? It's hard to just snap your fingers and become much better at a subject that you have a hard time with. The best way to develop new mastery is to seek expert help. So let's take, for example, math. Let's say I'm really bad at circle questions in the math section. Questions that involve the circle equation or circle geometry, something like that. How do I develop new mastery of circle questions in order to raise my score? Well, I can't just want it. I can't just wish that I were better at circles and expect to get better. In fact, I can't even really just do circle problems over and over the same way that I've always done them and expect to get better. If I want to develop new mastery, I've got to seek out expert help on the subjects that I'm not very good at. In this example, circles. So what does that look like? Well, there are lots of books out there, lots of classes, lots of different ways to obtain expert advice on how to attack circle questions, for instance. If you're one of Prep Expert students, then you're either enrolled in a class in which will teach you how to attack circle questions, or you have a tutor who can teach you how to attack circle questions. But whether it's a class, a tutor, a book, there's always expert help available to you. Even if you don't have the option of taking a Prep Expert class or being one of our tutoring students, you can always seek help from your high school teachers, from a friend who understands the test better than you do, from the internet at large. There's lots of help out there for anybody who's willing to look for it on how to do any topic that's covered on the SAT. The expert help is out there. You can find it if you want to. If you're really trying to get better at the test, that's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to get guidance from someone who understands the topics that you struggle with so that you can develop mastery of those topics. So we've talked about how you start by taking a practice test to get a feel for where you are. And then you're going to focus on your weak areas to develop new mastery of new topics that you were previously not as good at. We've talked about how the best way to develop mastery is to get expert help in the areas where you struggle. Another important aspect of raising your score is to keep testing, because as time goes on, if your studying is effective, what will happen is you will become better at some of the things you used to struggle at. So let's say that I get better at circle equations, right? I suddenly start answering more circle questions correctly because I've been working hard on them and I've gotten expert help. What do I do now? Well, I want to retest, take another official practice test, get another measurement of what I'm good at and what I'm not good at, get fresh data, so to speak. Maybe I find when I do that now my weakest area is actually punctuation questions in the writing section. If that's the case, then I have a new weak area to focus on, and there's new mastery that I can develop to raise my score. So one of the things that I like to point out to my students is if they talk about an area that they're bad at, they often talk about it in a dejected way. They'll say, oh man, I have a really hard time with that. I just don't get it. I'm never going to be good at that particular topic. And I like to remind them that's not the way to think about it. Think about it this way. We're here to raise our scores, right? If that's the case, if you're here to raise your score, then when you discover a topic that you're bad at, you have just found points. Now all that remains is to go out and get them. You can't win points in areas you're already good at. You can win points in the things you're not good at. So once you know what you're not good at, you have an area where you can go win points. Go find that expert guidance. Get better in that area. Develop new mastery, and you can raise your score. My final tip for how to raise your SAT score by 200 points is this. Hard work raises scores. That's one thing that I have a hard time communicating to my students. Just the simple truth that the harder you work, the more likely your score is to go up. Here at Prep Expert, we have a wealth of data from years and years of classes and tutoring and tens of thousands of students that tells us that the students who work the hardest, the students who complete the most practice work are the ones who raise their scores the most. Every test cycle, we have students who work really hard and raise their scores. And we have students who don't work really hard and they don't raise their scores nearly as much. So that's the fundamental truth. It's like anything in life. The more work you put in, the more you're going to get out of it. The SAT is no exception to that. It's especially true for anyone who's not just a test prep genius, right? If you made a perfect score on the SAT already, you wouldn't be watching this video, right? If you're watching this video, it's because you need to raise your score by 200 points. Awesome. You are the target audience. You're the one who needs to understand that you absolutely are capable of doing that. And it's going to require a lot of hard work. Make no mistake about that. If you're not willing to put in the hard work, you're going to have a really hard time raising your score. But the good news of that is the flip side, which is that if you are willing to put in the hard work and you seek out that expert guidance to help you develop mastery, then you can absolutely expect to raise your score. So that's all I've got for you today, guys, about how to raise your SAT score by 200 points. Please don't forget to like this video if you found it helpful. You can also subscribe to Prep Expert's YouTube channel for other videos just like this one. We'd also love it if you'd leave us a comment below this video and let us know what you'd like to hear about in our next video. What do you want advice on from a 2-time perfect score? Leave us a comment and we might feature your comment as the topic of our next video. There's also a coupon code in the description of this video, which will entitle you to exclusive discounts on all of our products. You can find our products on our website, prepexpert.com. You can sign up for a class with myself or one of our other instructors, or you can sign up for tutoring if you'd prefer that. So until next time, guys, keep working hard.